Okay, so thinking about publishing, and I'm sure many questions come to your mind. There are many different challenges and considerations that going to share with you now. So you might be thinking, where can I publish books? Where do I even do that? Do I need to have a publisher? Do I need any experience? I am not an author. I've not written before. How am I supposed to do this? You might also be thinking, oh, this could be an expensive process, and not just money. It's also my time. So how much does it cost? You might also be thinking, well, how easy is it to get started? And I have to admit, a few years ago, I was thinking it's going to be a really long process. It's going to be really difficult. And I'm going to share exactly the process today with you. Another thing you might be thinking is this something that anyone can do? Who am I to write a book? And you might also be thinking, well, how much can I charge for a book? I might even have an idea. You might have already written a book. You might have something ready, but you don't know about pricing. And another thing that comes up is, do I need to be an expert? And that's usually a lot of imposter syndrome. Who, like I mentioned, who am I to write a book? So you might have a few questions, and we're going to be addressing them today. Now, one thing that we've done is you might have already submitted the feedback form for the event, and we've had thousands of people that have filled in to share what are the current challenges. Now, one thing we learned is how popular the topic of creating a book is. It's really one of the biggest responses that we had. But you also shared with you your challenge, and that really leads into the questions of the time that it takes. You might be thinking, well, is it worth my time? You might also be thinking about, well, the lack of knowledge. How can I make this happen? What can I do to get started? You might be thinking all of the what's and the where's, the when's and the how's. And then also, you might be thinking, well, can I make sales? How viable is this? So I'm going to share a little bit of why you might want to consider publishing. Now, of course, the main reason many of you shared is money, and it's all about making passive income. Now, one thing with books is the work that you put in today can lead to continuous income for years to come, and especially with books. I mean, for many of the opportunities that we've shared with you this week, that is the case, but especially when it comes to publishing. One thing is, once you do it once, I am sure that you will feel the process is so much easier than you're expecting. And it can be a little bit addictive. You will want to do it again and again. You will learn from just the whole process of doing this once. And it's something that you can repeat. Once you know how to do it, it's going to be a much easier process to keep doing it again and again. And of course, having even more streams of revenue to bring in that money. Now, another thing is, as I mentioned, it's bringing in that more potential opportunities. And the work that you put in really will lead to continuous income for years to come. One thing I think is not just about the income, although I'm sure that's a huge part for many, but seeing, as educators, seeing that our knowledge can be packaged into a book, and then seeing that on a marketplace like Amazon, sharing all about that in a second, but actually seeing that is one, a very rewarding experience to go through that process, but actually to see your books published, there's a lot of satisfaction when that happens. And of course, being able to say you're a published author, there's a lot of status that comes with that, the prestige, and just internally a lot of sense of accomplishment of, I did this. Now, another thing is when you do have a book, you can really lean into personal branding. And then one thing we mentioned actually in our live session earlier today, myself and Robbie hosted, was when it comes to publishing, not everyone wants to show up on camera. Give me, how do you feel? Share an emoji. How do you feel about showing up online, on camera, being on video? How do you feel about it? Is it thumbs up? I don't mind. I see yeah, you don't like it. A few crying faces. Some people love it. Yeah, and I have to be honest, when I first Back in 2020, when I started my business, it was not my favorite thing to do. But since then, showing up on camera is something that I enjoy now, but it wasn't in the beginning. So if you don't like or you don't want to show up on camera, then it could be a good option. Now, of course, one thing is it's a great skill to learn, and I do encourage you to learn how to show up on camera. It's definitely a great way to market and advertise. But I see someone mentioned I am camera shy. Well, I was very camera shy a few years ago. And yeah, many people are worried about the criticism showing up online. I completely understand. Now, one option is when it comes to publishing, as much as it can help to show up on camera, it's not something you must do. And it's not something you must do to make sales. So yeah, thank you for sharing all the emojis. I completely understand the feeling around that. Okay, so one question is, what can I publish? Now, let me just ask you a question. Do you have an idea of what type of book you might consider publishing? Let me know. What comes to mind? Do you have an idea of what comes to mind when I think about publishing books? Let me know what it is. Okay, textbooks from my own courses I create, children's books, how-to books, tips, pronunciation, children's books, journals, okay, my life experience, teaching strategies, okay, lots of great ideas here. Parenting, how-to, grammar book for Italians. Okay, lots of great ideas. So I'm going to be sharing with you the different types of books to publish. And one thing is, it's not all self-publishing, and this is definitely a misconception that I had. And that was when it comes to publishing, that self-publishing is limited to fiction or nonfiction, and that's not the case. And I've seen a lot of the examples you've shared, how-tos, life stories. I had that same consideration as well, thinking about science fiction, seeing a few for grammar books, which typically has a lot more content. Children's books, depending on the age, of course, can have, it could be, depending who it's for exactly, the age. Okay, we also have, guides. Some of these can be much longer. So I definitely have this misconception of when it comes to publishing that it would mean one particular type of book. And one thing is there's two types to consider. The two types of books to consider. One is a low content book and another is a high content book. So what does that mean? What is a high content book? What is a low content? By content, we just mean words. So a low content is low on words, high content, high on words. So I was only really thinking and limiting myself to think when it comes to publishing, it's only high content, high on words, things like the different, stories. I've seen a few here about sharing a few practice books, English conversation, how-tos, narratives, life story. That for me is, high content. I was also considering similar ideas. But actually, we also have low content. And I think low content is something to really consider. So as I mentioned, low content means little writing. And one thing is the low content market is huge. It's huge. So I'm going to share some ideas of what types of low content books you could consider. And I've seen one person wrote journals. So you can have journals. Low content books can be gratitude journals. They can be language journals. They can be logbooks. They can be notebooks, coloring books, and children's picture books. Yeah, so I love the first three. Now we're going to be looking at specific examples for these. But there are many different types. Yeah, I saw someone put an inspirational quotes book. Exactly. And I'm going to be sharing, depending on your niche and your expertise. And I really, as I share these, I think it's good to be open-minded at the possibilities. always thinking about the potential. So that's something to really think about. Now, I'm going to quickly just share a little bit about high content books. And as I mentioned, high content books typically offer in-depth information, there's some knowledge, and really a focus more on storytelling. Now, you might be thinking, well, how many words and how many pages? It does vary there's not really any strict rules around the number of pages when it comes to high content, but anything like self-help or personal development, it could be language and culture books, it can be things like parenting and family guides. I think I saw a few people mention that in the chat. Things like craft and DIY. I know a lot of teachers and educators are very crafty, and another thing is things like health and wellness, can be travel guides, things like short stories, or of course, longer stories and novels are also options. Also things like career development, cookbooks, recipe collections, these would all come under a high content book. Yeah, someone said Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings books, exactly. A lot of fiction and non-fiction would come under high content. Exactly. Now, one thing is, okay, so I have an idea of what book to publish. The big question is, well, where can I publish my book? Now, I'm going to be sharing specifically today about publishing on Kindle Direct Publishing, which is KDP. Now, there are other options as well. There's places like Apple Books, Smashwords, and Google Play Books. There's many other opportunities of where you can publish. But today I'll be sharing specifically about Amazon KDP. So Amazon KDP, what is that? It's Kindle Direct Publishing. So KDP is Amazon's self-publishing platform. And it's a platform where you can publish your own books to sell directly on the Amazon marketplace. So on the Amazon store, if you go to Amazon.com or whatever Amazon is in your region, and you will be able to find your books published there. Yeah, someone said, KDP is great. I made my own book, printed it. Just to say I made a book. I love that. Wonderful. Now, there are, as I mentioned, it could be Amazon.com. Now, one thing is the US and the UK market for Amazon is the most popular. But what's really cool is you can publish your books to all available marketplaces. So, for example, I can publish my books in countries like Mexico, Spain, Brazil, many different countries around the world. And I can self-publish them in 10 countries, there's more than 10 countries. And also, you can have your books in other languages as well, and all the different stores. So there's so many opportunities with Amazon KDP. Now, I'm going to get into all of the examples. And as I said, as we go into this, I really want you to think about the possibilities. Have an open mind, because it could be something that you didn't consider. And I'm going to be sharing some specific examples of low content books that you can create. And I'd love to just see what you think about this as we go through. So keep that in mind of how could this work for me? Now, the first example I'm going to share is to do with gratitude journals. Yeah, someone said, I love the idea of low content books. Me too. And it's definitely very exciting. So a gratitude journal could be, and one thing as I share these, if there is one that you really like, make sure to take a note of it. And then you can definitely do your research. Someone said poems. Yeah, there's so many. But a gratitude journal can have daily prompts for reflection and gratitude. You can also consider tailoring your gratitude to a specific subject or a theme. So there are some examples. For example, if you look at, in the picture, we have ones that are aimed maybe more for a teen market or for younger children. You can also have ones for example, if you work with busy professionals, if you work with lawyers or a specific person, you can also have it even more niche of how they can bring in gratitude and reflection into their life. One thing is you can also customize them to feature your own branding. So something I mentioned before was how you can use your book to really promote your business. And it's doing two things at once. You're promoting your business and bringing in more, and also supporting your students. I guess there's three things. And then also at the same time, you're making passive income. So gratitude journals, I say there's a lot of ideas coming already. Barbara said a 365-day English tips books for children where you can draw pictures as well. I love that idea, Barbara. That is fantastic. There's so many opportunities with journals, and it's not, I know this market of gratitude, and it's a huge market, mindfulness, but there's also so many possibilities, even if that's not something you considered. Yeah, exactly. Okay, now another thing is a language journal, and you can craft language journals that are specifically tailored to your students' needs. Now, depending on what type of teacher you are, let me know, are you a teacher? Like, what type of teacher? Are you an English teacher, an online teacher? Do you work in a primary school? Art teacher. Okay, art teacher is fantastic for these types of journals. So I say ESL tutor for adults. Okay, Spanish online. See, as you can see this, we have a bilingual journal. Now I love this one. It's my homeschool journal. It's a bilingual learning log. You could have something like that if you're teaching Spanish, if you're teaching maths and English. You could also have a specific journal tailored to maths. Yeah, primary school, year 1, Spanish and English. So the bilingual option could be really great for you. And as you can see, it's a bilingual learning log for elementary and middle school students. So it's a specific target. So many of you here could tailor this for your, for your own students and think, what is it that they would like? What is it that could support them? And you can make them really fun. And this one, it's like my friendship journal, and then it's like a bilingual one with different activities. So the art teacher here, you could have all kinds of different fun activities and prompts, lots of different exciting ways to support your students. Yeah, okay, I don't know your name, but someone just shared, I have already created a journal for creative Christians. I just didn't know how to publish. I love that. You already have it ready to go. That's fantastic. So these are all examples that I'm sharing with you that I've done my research. These are ones that these aren't my own books that I'm sharing. These are ones that already exist on the Amazon marketplace. I'm sharing lots of possibilities. These aren't my own books. Okay. Now another thing is a notebook. You can design notebooks for organization and note-taking. And again, these can be specialized for the specific subject. So we have a French and English tutor. And someone else mentioned I'm creating a prayer journal. Great. Okay, we can also have these for specific, as you can see. I have the examples for me, and I guess it's because of my region. I am in Mexico, and I'm typing in English, and I'm getting a lot of bilingual examples for me, which is interesting. But you can have also ones that are set up, and I would say notebooks are probably one of the easiest ones because it's just about making them, look quite beautiful, and they are very low content. But you can, and one thing about that is KDP actually allows you to publish different sizes. So you really can choose the size if you want like a smaller journal or something. And I will share all the ins and outs of how it actually works later. But that's just something I originally didn't understand that was possible. Is I thought, well, I would love to have my own notebooks, and I like note-taking and stationery, but I thought, well, how can I make this possible? I'm going to have to package everything myself, and how am I going to do this? So I see a few questions. I will get to a few of your questions about this. Another example is coloring books. Now, if you are working with children, but also adults, I think people of all ages like coloring. You can really get creative and design engaging coloring books for all ages. I found different examples, for example, bilingual books for Spanish children, for Spanish kids, or Spanish for kids, even for preschool, kindergarten, and then there's also, you can have for children, they could be created for children in your classroom, online coloring books. So a good question, actually, online coloring books. Now, these can be sold as physical copies or as digital downloads through KDP. So if it's a digital download, you'll be able to then print that out yourself, or you can, I mean, many children have, at least friends and family in the UK have, iPads, and they will color physically, they will color on their iPad, for example. But yes, so Amazon will send out the physical copy. So if I'm a customer, I go on and I think, okay, great, I would love to buy the coloring book, The Adventures of Sissy Dog. And let's say that, let's see who we have. Let's say that James did that. He created that. And then I would go on and purchase that. And then Amazon would take care of everything. They would send out the physical copy to the customer. Perfect. Okay. Now, another example is children's picture books. Again, very low content, and you can craft children's picture books. And I like this one. It can be, for example, for early childhood, literacy development, lots of opportunities here. But also you can promote these to parents, to schools, to libraries. These can be really great educational resources. You can also have them specific to a topic. So this one is how to play chess. It's quite a niche one. How children, book for smart kids. There's so many different options for children's picture books that you would be able to share. So that's some examples of low content books that you can create. Now let's see, we have a few questions. Yeah, someone said with ChatGPT, the possibilities are endless. Definitely, there's so many opportunities. Now, one thing is, as we've gone through, just let me know what's come to mind. Have you just yes or no? How do you feel about what I've shared so far? Anything that's really kind of taking your fancy, that feels new or exciting? Yes, so many ideas. And I'm going to share even more. So many ideas. The brain is buzzing with ideas. Perfect. Very interesting. Okay, so there's some low examples. I'm going to share some high content examples. And when I share high content, it doesn't always mean, as I mentioned, there's no limit on how many pages. It could be high content and it might be 20 pages. And I'm going to be sharing more examples in a moment. But I just want you to keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be a whole novel. It doesn't have to be Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. Okay, more ideas to share with you. Sorry for all of the buzz. I hopefully it's helping you come up with just seeing all of the possibilities. Now, another possibility is sharing about career development. Now, for those of you that might not have a teaching background, perhaps you have a background in law. I know we've had a few people say that they're lawyers, or we've had people that have had a very different career and then maybe entered teaching. If that's the case, then I'm sure you have so much value to share. Now, for some of you, you might be working with medical professionals, or you might be working at universities and you can support your audience with resources that offer insights, guidance, and strategies relating to their career development. So you can explore different aspects. For example, it could be for the job search process. You could have a book all about workplace success, could be about leadership, could be about networking, or it could be a very specific, as you can see in this example I found, it's the medical school interview. And I know there are some in the audience that work with medical professionals, and that could be, can share so much value from your students and stories and your own story of your own career development. There's So many opportunities here with career development. It's definitely an interesting niche, an option. Someone said, can this be a blog instead? Sure. Yeah, why not? Yeah, so many options for career development. Now, I think I saw a few people mention this, of the ideas that they had. And for those that are English or language teachers, I know we've got French teachers, Spanish teachers, a grammar workbook can be another option. And putting together a comprehensive and effective grammar resource. So this is great if you are, and one thing is, it's not just for learners. You can also create these, and many teachers will use these types of books as well. And they can be specialized, so you could have specific where you're sharing specific tenses. I mean, the examples I found are like self-study, grammar workbooks for adults. You can have all kinds of options, sentence structures, all kinds of options for grammar workbooks. And again, you can also even have them even more tailored, niched for a very specific audience. So a lot of ideas for grammar workbooks. Now, I saw we also have some ESL teachers in the room of us. So one thing is you can create activity books for teachers, or you could create them for students, or for both. And really, you can do this for all ages and all levels. I just saw someone commented about educational development strategies that can be implemented to teach individuals with particular disabilities. Yeah, perfect. Now, one thing is with these is you're doing this in your classroom every day, maybe. You have all these different activities, and for you, it might feel that it's obvious. It might think, well, aren't other teachers doing this too? And again, I know this is a question that kind of creeped up for me, is like, who am I to be sharing this? So you can package that and put that into a resource, just like the example I've shared with you, the 101 ESL activities. These are for teenagers and adults, and these can be incredible resources, and they can include things like vocabulary games, conversation starters. Now, there's also other options, and I found a really cool example. And one thing is, it's not just about teaching English. Some of you here, I know you're teaching French or Spanish, or you might not necessarily want to be teaching the language, but you want to be sharing, the cultural context. So for example, we have this example that Hannah created that's all about Ukrainian. Welcome. If you're from the Ukraine, great to have you here. So you can really have that custom, and I love this one because it's sharing all about the Ukrainian culture. And I agree, it's not just about the language, of course, that's a huge aspect, but you can be sharing different phrases. You can also be sharing different traditions, customs, cultural nuances, and it's a really great additional resource for your learners, and also for learners all over the world. I see this and I think, wow, I would love to try Ukrainian food and learn more about the Ukrainian culture. And it can be really for everyone and anyone. And just to share, your experience, and just, I definitely think there's a market for sharing, the specific, not just language, but culture. Okay. Now, another thing is I mentioned also about grammar. You could be sharing specifically about idioms and slang guides. So things like guides on idiomatic expressions, everyday language. Now, for some of you, you're probably already teaching this to your students and have a lot of content already that's ready to be packaged into a book that can be self-published. So one thing is you can think about, to make it even more, to really stand out on the market, is having something that's specific to dialects, regional varieties. This one is a up-to-date guide from British and American idioms and slang and common phrases. It's Give Your English a Facelift. I think with these, you can also make them really fun and have different explanations and examples and stories and usage. I think stories is a huge part, again, when it comes to language learning, sharing just the different insights from a traditional language book. Yeah, someone said it's a nice idea about sharing idioms and slang. And I have to be honest, many of my students always love when I share, contextual language. They want to know, okay, this is what it says in the book, but what do you actually say in the south of England? Or what do you say in your region? I know it's a huge popular topic for my audience. Yeah, I love, and it's always fun to hear like South African slang, is it hello? It's so many options. This is definitely one that I personally love. Now, another thing is, it's not just just for children. You can also have academic English. And if you are working and teaching English for academic purposes, or you work at a university, or you're working with adult learners, I saw there's a few that are working with adults. This can be a great option for many different types of books that you can create to support students that are pursuing higher education. Things like academic skills, can be writing skills, research, presentation, referencing. I know when I was doing my undergrad and my master's, I spent more money than I like to think about on academic English books. So it's definitely, and it's a huge market, and it's definitely something that many of you here would have a lot of experience to share on. Okay, another thing is short stories. Now, this could come, and some of these stories could come from, they could be a low context, it could be more of a mid-context content. For example, we have self-discovery books, things like adventure, friendship. Short stories could be bilingual stories. They could be related to a skill. They could be for parents, teachers, children. Lots of opportunities for short stories. Now, of course, you could write longer books, but there's so many options that I've shared with you today. I'm just going to check in the chat. How is everyone doing? Lots of ideas. I see someone said I would buy a book about Aussie English. Yes, I love Australian English. Okay, and I see a few Yorkshire words. Okay, someone said I'm creating materials to help my daughter learn Vietnamese in the US. I love that. Definitely an option. There's definitely some different types of low content books that you could create for that. Okay. Yeah, so many options. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to share with you just a few examples from our community, because I know a few of you have, I think it was Barbara, if I'm remembering correctly, that has already published. So let me know, how is your experience with publishing? How have you done it before? Yes or no? Is this something that you've done before? I don't think too many of you have. No. Okay. One person said yes. I can't see your name, but I know Barbara said yes. Okay, now the chat is going. There's a lot of you here. No, quite a lot of no's. Okay, Paula said yes. Okay, there's a few that have said yes. Okay, I've got chapters in a published book. Okay, that's a nice start. Great. Oh, someone said I've done about 25 books. Let me know your name. That's amazing. I wrote a joke book. Okay, I can't see your name, but I'm going to share some, maybe there's some from the community already here. I'm going to be sharing your example. Oh, it was Jeanette. Jeanette said 25 books, all low content. Amazing. We'll have to definitely get in touch, Jeanette. Perfect. So I'm going to share, so one example is Maria Glasanova. If you're here, shout out to you, Maria. But Maria has actually created an ebook that's how to reduce your time preparing for online classes and prevent emotional burnout, which I know is a huge topic, especially around burnout for teachers. And one thing is that sharing your story, many of you have experienced something that you can share, something like burnout or some different challenge or something within your career that you can share with others. So that's one example from Maria that's available. And one thing is, when you go and look at the options, no matter what option you feel, it's like, okay, maybe I will choose to tell my story, my career story. You can look at many different examples to see. So this one is at 58 pages, and you can find out a lot of information on the types of books that are already available. And I definitely encourage you to do a bit of research before. And we have another example from Martin Johnson. Martin is one of our students in the Bowie community, and I love this, it's very funny. He has a book called English on the Toilet, and it's short stories for intermediate levels learners of English. Now, this is like stories that he's shared. It's very funny. He's really leaned into his personality. I think this is a fun one that he's created. So that's Martin's. Shout out to Martin. Now, another example, and I believe this is more of a recent example, Michael. Michael Donahue, if you're here, shout out to you. So Michael has written a book that's about, I believe, his own experience. And I think Michael has written this, with a few others as well. It's co-written. It's definitely something you can also consider. And it's about his experience, I believe, with ADHD and being around PEG in a square world, and about his story of resilience. A really fantastic book. So congratulations, Michael, for publishing your book. I have another example, and this example is Julie Crenshaw's. And we sent out an email and had a lot of questions about Julie. One thing is, I've been working, and she's a very close friend of mine. She's been sharing the whole experience from beginning to publishing. Now, Dr. Julie Crenshaw, actually, this book is now a bestseller. So amazing work. And this is a guide for caregivers. It's a manual for those who come, if a loved one comes home from the hospital, it's all of the questions you need to ask your doctors. It's a really informative how-to manual that she has. Now, her background, she is a doctor of physical therapy. Now she's going into coaching and using this as a resource that she's selling to hospitals. But one thing about Julie is she's written this first book, and she's since published more, and she's actually published this recently, the same journals and logbooks. She now has had them translated into Spanish. So you might start, once you learn this process, as I mentioned, it can get a little bit addictive, and you will want to do this again and again. Now we have another example, another person from our community, Jennifer. I know James recently interviewed Jennifer, and she shared all about her book. That will be on James Liu's LinkedIn. If you go back, and you will find it to watch. But Jennifer shared her own experience of going from a traditional teacher to having 1 million subscribers, and all of the journey about that. I think everyone has a story to tell, and it's just thinking, well, what can I tell? And that's exactly what Jennifer's done. She shared her whole story from the 15 years experience of being on YouTube, and that's another example that you can consider. Okay, so there's a lot of examples here. So I'm going to just share a little bit more about, well, what is possible? I'm sure you have a lot of questions. And one thing is, how does Amazon KDP work? And as I mentioned, KDP prints on an on-demand drop ship basis. So what that means is they only print a copy of your book once it's been sold. So it's not that your books will be everywhere, in a warehouse. That doesn't happen. So how Amazon works is someone will go on to your page, just like this, and just like Jennifer's. And I think someone's asking for Jennifer's name. I believe her name is it Lebedev? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry, Jennifer. But I will just, yeah, it's you should be able to see it on the screen. That's it. So if I'm going as a customer, I would go to purchase Jennifer's book, for example. Then Amazon will package it for you. So you don't need to spend any time on admin, on shipping or sending things. Amazon takes care of everything. So it really is passive. Once you put your book onto Amazon, Amazon takes care of the rest. And the amazing thing about that is you can focus on creating. And as I mentioned about Julie, you will want to create even more. You will have a lot more free time to, not worried about, oh, someone's bought my book. Oh, I need to fulfill this and send it off. I need to package everything. It's done for you. You can spend your energy on creating more books, on your business, on your free time. A big thing is freedom, and also marketing the books that you already have. So yes, the best part is you do not need to worry about shipping at all, which is a huge relief for Amazon. Okay, so the steps to self-publish on Amazon. What are the steps to make this happen? Firstly, you do need to write your book, step one, and I will share the exact process and some considerations in just a moment. Secondly, you want to prepare your book. There are some different preparations that you need to consider. You will then need to set up a KDP account on Amazon. Step 4 is that you will then need to add your book once you have everything ready. And some of you are already at step 4. You're ready to put your book up. You need to upload your book. And then you would need to choose your distribution and pricing. And then finally, you want to publish and then promote that. So let's look closely at the different steps. Now, the first thing is outlining your book. You might have an idea. You want to really determine the overall structure of the book, just to see how, get a good idea, a good gauge of how long it's going to be. Just outlining the book, and I've shared so many examples with you. Hopefully you've had a lot of inspiration of what is possible. Outline your book, and then you want to also think about the writing goals. And I would encourage you to set time aside to making it happen. And as long as you're consistent, even if that's, I know, for example, with Julie, she worked full time. She's, a mama free. She has a lot of things going on, but she still set time aside, and she gave her a goal, gave herself a goal, a time goal of, you can either do it, I'm going to work for 3 hours every Saturday. It might be that you have, if you're writing a higher content book, you could have a particular word count goal. Whatever works for you, I think it's important to set writing goals when it comes to writing your book. Another thing is, when it comes to writing, is prioritizing, especially with the first draft. You want to put the first draft together relatively quickly, and you want to prioritize content creation over perfection. You're not aiming for a flawless book the first time you write it. That's just not going to happen. So think about getting the words on paper. Once you do that and you have your first draft, you can then revise and edit, and you can check for the overall clarity and flow. Now, once you have something relatively substantial ready to go, I would encourage you to choose individuals that ideally are from your audience, or at least have a good understanding of the genre and topic, and get them to review that. Now, that's something that I have done for others. I've read people's, and just to give them some initial feedback for their low content book. That's the first step. Now, you can choose to hire, do your research and hire someone. Now, for a low content book, this isn't necessary, but it is something that you might feel more confident. It is an option, and this would be the stage where if you were to hire professional editing. Now, there's different types of professional editing. You can have an editor that will check the content. You can have one that will just solely focus on proofreading. You can also have one that might specialize in content style and proofreading. So definitely do your research. But this is when, once you have something substantial, if you are going to invest, it would make sense that you have a book, that you've had it checked with your friends, with different individuals. Then you would, if you want to, hire someone at that stage. Now, the next stage, and yeah, someone mentioned Fiverr is a good place to get an inexpensive editor. Great, exactly. There's so many ways that you can find different types of editors, and it doesn't have to be expensive at all. Or you don't even need to hire one, as I mentioned, especially with the low content. Now, the next step is to prepare your book. And once you have had it checked, you will want to do a little bit more proofreading. Attention to detail is essential with something like this. Once you have something that you are happy with, this is optional, but it is something that can be very insightful, and that is to get feedback from individuals who represent your target audience, getting people to read it for you, and then also it can help with different reviews and just understanding, and then from that you can make any adjustments based on the feedback. Once you have that, you'll be then ready to format your book. There's a few questions about formatting, and we'll get to that in a moment. But formatting, there are specific guidelines on Amazon. That information is very easy to find. Amazon have a lot of, KDP has a lot of different guides of how to do this with formatting. Now, another thing is designing a cover. And I think this is important. If you have some background, it is something that you can do yourself. You can use the different creator tools given by Amazon. You can also use Canva. There are many other platforms and software that you can use to design a cover. Or alternatively, you can hire a designer, and there are specific designers that really specialize in book design, and a great option, someone mentioned Fiverr, you can find them again on Fiverr. So you can either outsource when it comes to the cover design, or you can do that yourself. And you only need 2 files when it comes to uploading to prepare your book. You need to have the cover file with the cover, the designed cover, and that can be just a PDF that you can upload or a Word document, and then the actual writing section. So it's just 2 files that you would need when it comes to preparing the book. Okay, so there's a few questions here. Is KDP free? How do I set up? So yes, it is free, and anyone can sign up and set up a KDP account. You don't need to be a business. You can do this as an individual, and you can sign up to Amazon KDP. You can create your account and do that if you don't already have one. And it will just ask you, as you can see, to enter your personal details. It will also ask you to provide your banking information so you can get your royalty payments. Very important step. You want to make sure that everything is set up so you can get paid. And someone said, do you write it in Word? Yes, you can write your book in Word. Absolutely. This is free. I see a lot of questions coming through. Okay, so step 4 is you want to then, as I mentioned, add the book to KDP, and you want to create a new title. So the steps on KDP are to create a new title. You would then be able to choose either a Kindle ebook or a paperback. There are different options. And then you would fill out all of the information about the book. So the book's title, description, keywords, and the categories. Now, this is a very important step because it's crucial for your discoverability. So when, just like on Google, Amazon works the same way. There will be someone that will search, for example, English grammar. Now, you want to have specific keywords that match so that your book will show up on the first page. Ideally, we want to have this, it's really important for having sales and bringing in and getting it out to the right people. And then also you can set your publishing rights. So what this means is if you have the worldwide rights or if it's specific rights for publishing, that's at that stage. Now, step 5 is you want to upload your book and your cover. Like I said, that you just need 2 documents to do that. So you upload your manuscript, and that's the formatted book file. At that stage, you can select the appropriate book size and fonts and formatting option. I think someone mentioned about larger fonts. If your audience, for a particular audience, that's definitely something that you can change. Things about notebooks, this is the stage where you can choose. You can also choose if it's spiral bound, many different options for the sizes of books and the types of books at this stage that you would select. And then you would upload your book's cover. And then you also have the option to preview your book to check how it will look when it's published. So it's a very exciting stage to see your book available, what it will look like. And once you've done that, you would then choose the distribution channel. So what that means is you're deciding where you want your book to be sold and where you want it to be available for the different readers. As I mentioned, there's many different countries, many different languages, and you can choose the region. You can choose all marketplaces, or you could choose just to sell it in the US. I mean, it would make sense to have it available everywhere, but you have that option to choose. Now, one thing is there's a few questions about pricing, and I'll be sharing a bit more about that, but you want to decide on the pricing point for the different markets. Now, Amazon does take a commission. They do take, of course, as I mentioned, they do a lot of work for you. You can create the book, and then once that happens, the selling and everything is done by Amazon. Now, it depends on the book that you have, and it depends. There's, again, more information about this, but typically it's either 70% or 35%, depending on the pricing that Amazon takes from you. So something to keep in mind. And then the next step is to publish. So once everything is looking good, you have the option to publish your Kindle ebook, or you can publish your paperback book, or you can do both. You have the option to publish for both options. You can then promote it. So the next stage is you've done all the hard work, you've got everything ready on Amazon, and then you can use different tools by Amazon. One thing is they have like a Kindle countdown deal. And this is a particular promotion that Amazon will run for you. And that's a great thing, especially if it's Black Friday or New Year. You can choose when you promote your book. And there's lots of different ways of doing that, more than just the Kindle countdown deals that you can consider. You can also do your own. You can promote on social media, and there's so many other ways that you can market your book to reach your audience. Okay, a few questions I'm just going to go over is, as I mentioned, you don't need to have a business or even be a company to sell books. It's very easy to get started. You can set up an account under your name and start selling right away. Another thing is, how much is it going to cost me? Now, a low content book can be totally free. There can be some costs, but it's not necessary. Now, low content books can be created, for example, on Canva. You can use other software that you want to use. Also, you can buy a lot of ready-made interiors. So if you are thinking, I'd like to create a coloring book or a puzzle book, there are software and different tools, and you can pre-purchase at a relatively low cost. And by low cost, it's under $100 to have the whole process of doing this, and that just would save you a lot of time as well. But you can pre-purchase, and there's different tools to make it very easy for you to get your books out there and published. And one thing with higher content books, it's not so much the money, but it's the time. You have to think, well, how long is this going to take me? And that's why I've shared so many low content options, because if you're just getting started and you've never done this before, I would definitely choose a low content option just to go through that process. You've got to think, like, is it worth my time or investing the money to hire someone to help me? For example, if you have almost no experience when it comes to designing a cover, that's something you can outsource. And like we said, it can be much cheaper than what you think. It can be a bit of an investment, but it can be worth it for your time and just the peace of mind as well. Now, one thing is, you also want to do a bit of research. And yeah, someone said the last question is, will it sell? Well, you can do a few steps to really understand, is it something my audience would want? If you have an audience, and by an audience, it could be your classroom, it can be your school, it can be social media. And is this something that people want? So that is something to think about. Now it can be, like I said, to self-publish a book, it can be zero. It's free to publish on KDP. And if you are new, I would say start small and with low content. Make it as easy as possible. Learn this entire business from making, publishing, and marketing. And spend as minimal as possible, especially when you're making low content books. And less, when I say minimal, like I said, less than $100 is what I would be considering if you're going to self-publish. But like I said, it can be zero. Someone said, hire me to cover designs. I love that. So we have a few in our audience here today who do this already. So that's fantastic. There are many options of outsourcing. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing some how you can get started and just the opportunities. You might still have questions. I can see there's a few questions coming through. Another question that I said I would address is, do I need any experience? And you don't need any experience to write or to be able to self-publish on Amazon. Even if you want to publish high content books, the secret is you don't even need to write them yourself. There are so many options for you. And it is that you could hire someone you could work with someone closely. Could be a ghostwriter, could be someone that learns your voice. And there's so many options when it comes to writing the books. And it's not necessary to hire someone. I think someone asked me before, do I need like a writing coach? Again, if you were going to create your first book, I would start with a low content book to just understand the publishing process first. And then as you get more confident, it might be something that you consider. And once you start making a nice amount from this, it could be something that you really take very seriously, and it can be something where you might hire help and publish even more books. Another thing is, okay, how much should I charge for my ebook? So there are typically, one thing I would look into the prices of Amazon, what is already available. So ebooks typically start, you can have free ebooks, you can have them as a freebie, you can have them at $0 that are available. Now the lowest price point you can set is 99 cents or the equivalent in your currency. Now that can be a way to introduce your offer to the market and attract the initial sales. That having it at less than $1 is the lowest you can go. You can't have it like for 50 cents, for example. Now the next category of pricing, and the most common price point, is between $1 and $4.99. The standard for more of a higher content book or workbook is typically from $5 to $9.99. That's the typical standard pricing. Now anything above $10 is usually when you're more established. If you are a known author, if this is typically the price point you're looking at. So typically under $10 is how much you would be selling ebooks for. But when it comes to selling, so that's ebooks. Also with paperbacks, typically the range is between $9.99 and $19.99, anywhere between that for those of you that are wanting to publish paperback versions of your books. One thing though I think is important is to do your research before publishing, especially with pricing, especially with the category, to see what's already available. And if you're finding that there are similar books, I see that as a good thing. It means that there's a market there. It's definitely something that people want. But check the prices of your competitors, because if you're looking at, I would say on Amazon, people are quite savvy when it comes to prices. They're looking for, if they see all of the books, the journals, for example, are $4.99, most people are charging that price and yours is $9.99, they will first look. So you want to keep your price on par with the other products in a similar category, at least when you're first doing this. So that's one of my main top tips. Okay, I'm just going to check in. How is everyone doing? let's see, are you still here? Share an emoji of how you're feeling right now. Good, okay. Perfect. So we do have an activity that James is going to be helping you on. And I know many of you have questions. Don't worry, we will be addressing your questions right at the end. We'll be here exploring the spider. Yeah, I love it. Everyone is so inspired. That was definitely my goal. But now we're going to do an exercise. So James, let's see if James is around. How are you doing, James?
I'm here. Doing well. I'm doing good.
Yeah. Nice to see you. Yeah, I know we're going to be sharing the exercise. I'm going to stop sharing.
All right. Right on time. Right on time. Okay. All right, guys. How do you guys feel so far? You guys feel like having an exercise, some ChatGPT exercise again? Yes, yes, yes. Good, 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 good. All right, that's great, guys. I think the whole point here is we want to use this workshop to show you guys there's so many possibilities. All right, so many possibilities for teachers, for educators, right? We shouldn't get stuck. We should just explore and find something that's gonna work and then take action and do it. So change your life, right, from today. So information is the key here, right? So you know what to do, you know you can do it, just do it, right? So the book is great. Now, I mean, when I was thinking about books, I always thought, okay, I need to publish something like this thick. But if you look at Amazon, there's so many things available because as long as it's useful, there's a market, right? There's a market, and we can do so many different things to monetize your knowledge. That's the whole point here. Monetize your knowledge. All right. Okay. Great. 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 So we're gonna move on to let me share my screen with you guys. Okay. Move on to the exercise. Okay. So I created another guide. Uh, similar to the strategic guide we had. All right, let me show you my screen. And please stick to the end, okay? Stay to the end to get the slides. Some people ask me, hey, how do I get slides? Stay to the end. We have this show up bonuses that includes all the slides. Okay, we did yesterday. We actually shared the show up bonuses at the end. Stick to the end. We're gonna share the show up bonuses with you guys. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're gonna do this exercise. Okay, book self-published kickoff guide. This is a book self-published kickoff guide. Okay, so this guide we developed it to help teachers identify book topics, formats, and outline based on their background and the preferences. Okay, so the includes videos, templates, and ChatGPT prompts for step-by-step guidance. So similarly to the one, if you were here yesterday, similar to the one we did yesterday with the strategic guide. So this is a document I'm gonna share with you in just a few seconds. On this document, you will see some introduction and then a table that you need to complete, and then there are ChatGPT prompts. We're gonna use just copy paste and put in ChatGPT, and then it asks you to copy paste your table. You put it in, and then ChatGPT gonna help you with the topics type and the outline. Okay, so and I also have two examples here. It's example one, example two. So probably given the time we have, I'm just gonna use one of the table to do the demo, but I'll give you some time, like maybe 2-3 minutes to work on the table yourself. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share the link with you guys. We had some problem yesterday with the link, so this time we made a bit different. So if when you open this link, it will ask you to make a copy. So you're gonna directly make a copy. So when you click on the link, you're gonna see something like this. You make a copy. If you don't see something like this, that means you didn't log into your Google account. Okay, then you click on make a copy. It will make a copy directly to your Google account, and this is your copy. You see the name, it becomes a copy of, that's your copy. Then you can edit it. Okay, so if you don't see this, that means you are not logged into your Google account. So you need to log into your Google account. And we recommend you use Chrome, the browser Chrome, if you can, okay, to make it easier. All right, but if you don't see this and you don't want to get worry about this, don't worry, because we're gonna send you the show up bonus. You're gonna have the document there too, so you're not gonna miss anything here. Okay, I'm gonna share this link with you guys. All right, this link, and you just need to spend time working on the table. I'll probably give you like 2 minutes. Just take a look at these questions. So basically, the questions ask you your teaching experience and expertise, areas of interest, target audience, like who do you want to read this book for, book concept ideas, goals, and motivations. Okay, so I share this link with you guys. Okay, and then save a copy. Okay, save a copy. Hey, Lisa. Good. All right, so work on the table. And this is gonna be including the swap bonuses. And for those of you who are watching this recording, for those of you who are watching recording right now, if you want to get this document, it's very simple. You just need to help us refer this workshop to one of your friends, teacher friends, educator friends, and then you're gonna receive both strategic guide and a kickoff guide. So the strategic guide was the one we actually used yesterday. The kickoff guides is the one we're using today. So if you refer, and then you're gonna find this link everywhere in the email. I always have it on the bottom of the email. If you refer your friends to your to the workshop, you're gonna receive both guides. Okay, so this is another way for people who weren't able to join the workshop live to still get the both guides we actually shared at the workshop. Okay, just so you guys know. And if you, for those of you missed yesterday, if you want to get the guide from yesterday, you can also refer the workshop to your educator, teacher friends to receive both guides. Okay. All right. All of you got it? Let me check. I can get it on my phone. I was there yesterday. How will you receive your answers? Yeah, so the show up bonuses, we actually shared it during the session. We didn't send an email because we don't know who actually joined through the email. Okay, so if you actually joined and then you didn't receive the show up bonus, you just send an email to our support or respond to any of the emails you receive from us. Okay. All right. Good. So, all right. So then let's do this. I'm gonna do a demo very quickly now. All right. So you just need to fill out this form, and we're not going to take any from you guys. We're going to just use one of the examples we have. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I open ChatGPT, and then I will I'll use 4.0, which is better one. So 4.0, I will just highlight the prompt here. Okay. And then you open your ChatGPT. I use 4.0. If you are on free version, you use 3.5. Okay. So I'll just put the prompts into the chat box, and then ChatGPT gonna say, "Oh, great! Let's start with the first step of book publishing coaching session for teachers. Please copy and paste your teacher book self-assessment table, which is the table here. You finished, right? In my case, for the demonstration, I'll just use the first example. I'll just copy the whole table and then put it into ChatGPT. Okay, you don't need to worry about the format. It's not a table, but ChatGPT can recognize that. You don't need to worry about it. Okay, I'll just click on enter or return, and then ChatGPT can start. Based on your response, I have 3 book topic suggestions. So if we take a look at the example here, so basically, it's a English literature teacher, right? Teaching 12 years, use storytelling, interactive discussion, passionate about creating writing and the literature to inspire critical thinking, And this is the interest, right? Writing short stories, poetry, and improving student engagement, and targeted primarily high school educators and students, right? That's this teacher's ideal targets, and struggle with and also because this also struggle with literary related and relatable and engaging for this youth, right? And there's some other concept book ideas and goals and motivations. The goals is to share teaching experience, inspire other educators, and we'll hope to impact, right? I hope to establish a thought leader and create education open opportunity for workshop and speaking engagements. That's kind of the motivations. And then let's say what ChatGPT gives us. So based on the table, ChatGPT thinks the number one book topic could be innovative storytelling techniques in high school literature classes. Innovative storytelling techniques in high school literature classes. So storytelling is what this teacher is good at, and the audience is high school educators, right? So this is book topic one. And then ChatGPT also going to suggest 3 book types. So we talk about types of low content, high content, like there are different types. So one type can be practical guideline, step-by-step methods to integrate storytelling into literature lessons, workbook for educators, a case study for compilation. So these 3 different types, right? And also tell you like what's the reason why ChatGPT thinks this is a good topic. I'm not gonna read it. So book topic 2, based on the information we provided in the table, it's about the literature education for modern teenagers. So this book gonna be the audience gonna be students, right? So the type is gonna be educational guides, resource book for teachers, interactive ebook, right? It can be an ebook as well, and the reasons. And another one, book topic, creative writing as a tool for critical thinking in high school, and then some type of suggestions, right? So at the end, the ChatGPT can ask you, please choose one book topic that you'd like to develop further into book outline. Additionally, select the book type you prefer to for this topic. So ChatGPT can ask you, okay, I'll give you 3 options, book topics. Tell me which one I'm gonna create a session, the book outline for you. So let's say in this case, I'd love to go with the first one. I would say book topic. I'll just copy book topic here, and then I will say book type. I'll choose, let's say, let's do a practical guideline, a guidebook, okay? Okay, so I'm answering ChatGPT. I want to go with this book topic and this book type. And you put it in, and ChatGPT gonna develop the book outline for you. Of course, you're gonna decide whether or not what the outline you're gonna follow, but this can be a good inspiration, a starting point for you to follow, right? So number one, like no, it's kind of the first chapter, right? So book outline here, number one is introduction. And in the introduction chapter, you're gonna talk about purpose of the book, the teaching philosophy, overview of the book, and chapter 2, the power of storytelling, literature education, research and case studies, benefits for students. Chapter 3, understanding audience. Chapter 4, storytelling techniques and methods. 5, lesson planning, execution, right? Assessing students' engagement. So you see, it gives you outline of the book to inspire you. I mean, this kind of a guideline, right? You don't have to follow this exactly, but it's a good starting point, right? So anyone teach literature? How do you feel about this guideline? What do you think? How do you guys feel? Let me open the chat. Yeah. Anyone teach literature? How do you feel about the guideline here? Yeah, something one of the text you said looks good. Great guideline. That's good. Great, love it. Great. Looks great, right? Very good. How do you take credit for ChatGPT's work? How do you take credit for? I don't know how to answer the question. So we use ChatGPT to inspire. So no, that's could really help you. That's what we talk about, improve your efficiency, right? So previously, probably you can come up with something like this for taking you 2 hours, 3 hours, but right now it really gets you started right away. Wonderful idea. It looks great. Yeah, it helps you brainstorm great ideas. That's good. So again, you don't need to stop there, right? You don't need to stop there. let's say, okay, I like the guideline, it looks the outline looks good. So let's start writing, right? So let's say, okay, so let's start chapter 2 and expand the chapter to 500 words for each point, bullet points, right? So you can just say, hey, I think that at least chapter 2 is good. Let's give me some more ideas. Like what can I write about chapter 2? And then you just ask ChatGPT to expand. I mean, 500 words is kind of, I think, the length I want to write about. So what I can write about this, right? So chapter 2, the power of storytelling in literature education. So there were research and case studies and the benefits of students, right? So there's research of case studies, and then it can expand, give you some information. Again, this is all from the internet, right? So you need to validate whether or not, even like these case studies, you need to validate. I wouldn't trust this 100%. You also always need to validate and customize, improve. But again, the whole point here is it already gives you a lot of materials. You can quickly analyze, quickly put together, quickly use it, and to produce something belongs to you, right? So research and case studies and the benefits for students, that's kind of 2 bullet points. Ask ChatGPT to expand to 500 words. So then the benefit students then kind of summarize understanding, retention, critical thinking in conclusion, right? So you see what I'm doing here, guys? What do you think? Yeah. So so give you the points, give you the starting points, help you brainstorm, get you some ideas. For example, you might be thinking about benefit for students. You probably thought about something, and then there are 3. You can even say, okay, can you give me another 3 benefits for students? You can ask if I don't think these 3 are good. And you can say, hey, can you give me another 3 benefits for students? You can keep asking, like ChatGPT can give you. Usually what they give you first are the best ones, but sometimes it can be off, right? And then you can keep asking, and then ChatGPT can keep giving you stuff. And sometimes it can start making things up, later on we keep pushing it. So, but the point here is you see how it helps you with ideas, right? You can even challenge ChatGPT, say, hey, I don't agree with you. That's not correct. And then you can actually debate with the ChatGPT, can ask why you think that is the case, right? Just like you have an assistant, right? You are the chief editor. You have an assistant that can gather information for you, and then you review and work together. That's kind of the whole point of using ChatGPT. So this is what we did today. We have a table that help you gather the information that you can provide in terms of your experience, interest, and the audience, right? And your ideas, the goals, and motivation. And we have the prompt here already finished. You can just copy and paste into ChatGPT, and then you will be able to get started. Like what we started with the topics. What could be the 3 topics? And if you don't like the topics, you can ask ChatGPT, hey, can you give me another 3 topics that could be relevant based on the information provided? And then ChatGPT can give you another 3. So it really gets you some ideas, like how you decide. And then you feel, okay, this is a good idea. Okay, let's kind of expand it. Can we have the outline, right? The outline, the type of book. So there's so many things you can do by asking ChatGPT to help you, right? Guide you through the process. So